Hey guys, welcome to Comfy Cozy Ups. I'm excited because this is my annual top 5 romance. Now I really could have done a top 10, but I've always done 5, so we're going to stick with the 5 because I've read 35 romance out of the 102 or 103 books. I didn't do a final tabby yet. I've read, yeah, that's a lot of books, guys. I've read 35 and I enjoyed most of them. I did like a little breakdown of the books. 5 were a part of a series, and I've only completed no, I completed 2 of the series. I still have one. There's 8 books. There's 2 of, but that's 8 books in the series. No, one has 8 books, sorry, and one has 9 books. And the 8 book series, I've completed 4 of each, and of the 8 book, and the 9 book series only 4. And the 9 book series too made my top 5 because that's how much I'm enjoying the series. But I'll talk about more. One labeled as Caribbean romance, but you know how I felt about that. One historical fiction that I enjoyed. 4 had plus size women who were main characters. Love that series. I've not finished that series. That is another, I'm all confused here. That's another 8 book series. So there's 2 books with 8 book series and 1 with 9. But I'm going to finish that series. I did start at 5 and never finished it, but I'm going to go back to that series. 2 interracial, and there's about 25 that's mainly black, labeled as black romance, and I believe we can safely say it was. Yeah. And then 8 that were none and others, but really mainly white characters. And these are authors that I've read quite a few of their books in the past, so I really enjoy those as well. So we're going to start with the 5th one, which I read in January. It is the perfect book to start off the year in terms of when you think of romance of starting over, romance of heartache and building yourself back and finding love. And this we have New Year, New C, and that is from Nicole Fall. And I love C and Kurt. And what I liked about this is the best friend brother that you didn't think you would ever look at that way. But this is a girl that found out her best friend and her man were cheating. And she found this out on New Year's Eve. New Year's Eve? New Year's Eve. It's been January. It's all years since I read this one, but it still stick with me. And I'm going to tell you why it stick with me. This book stick with me because this is a prime example of when you had a heartache and you left that relationship and you march in the new relationship or the new love interest with your baggage. All your baggage is coming with you, your insecurity, your trust issue, everything you could think of. And what I loved about this is Kurt was the man who was very understanding because he knew her for many years, and he was understanding and he stick with her through her many shenanigans, through her many breakdowns and her insecurity, like, you know, showed his ugly face at times. And so in this, you want to say, oh my God, I would just leave her alone because she's annoying, maybe she needs to be by herself. But then you also want to say how he handled her and gave her the space and communicate with her and try to get her to understand that it's okay to let go of and allow someone else in your heart, even though your heart was all broken before. And I just love that, and I love the title of it because it's just perfect book for the start the year off, especially if you're starting the year off as a single person. And it's also the perfect book to show that healing can happen as you are still pursuing a relationship. Like some people always say, you need to just make sure you're fully healed before you jump into a new relationship. You never know. You will never know if you're fully healed until you pursue a new relationship. And I think this shows that. And I absolutely love this one. The next one is from Tina Martin. Now, Tina Martin is very much writes a lot of books. I've read quite a few from her, but she writes this series with these brothers, and they are, well, they're not all brothers and cousins. It's like a 9 book series, and it has families intertwined. In this case, I've read the last three. I've pretty much been reading it out of order. And in this series, what I liked is that these brothers were separated, adopted. Some were adopted. They found each other, and you little by little learn about what happened with their father, why they were separated. But they also had their own career. They became wealthy, and of course, the baggage from their childhood and the issues of abandonment and loss and tragedy follows them with their relationship. And but because they have money, they disguise it in a way where it becomes more of a dominating a woman, dominated their anybody that's around it pretty much. In this you have Major, and Major is the brother who fell for a woman, and in this case Shiloh. Shiloh is what I say, the sister that was a drug addict. She was in the previous book, so this was book 8, and she is a recovering substance abuser, and he fell for her. But you know, the author had to do a responsible job of not only addressing her healing process, her recovering process, and also her being vulnerable and what led her to become a substance abuser in the first place, and also her dealing with the hurt and the painful things she put her family through when she was under the influence. And now here comes this man who is showing her she's worth it. She is worth the effort. She's worth the love. She's worth the attention. She's worth someone going over the top for her. And she's learning that she's in the midst of her struggling, you know, she's still slowly learning that her worth, and that it's okay for someone to want to do that for her, even though she's done some terrible things while she was under influence. I love this. It's a different kind of story. I've not read any story like this that dealt with someone who's a recovery and how they get their life back together and have romance in the middle of that. Because there's another thing about some of these romance that has heavy subject. Sometimes they forget it's a romance. In this, she did not. The author stick to the theme, and she did make sure that yes, we're going to talk about the serious stuff, but we're going to make sure that you know it's a romance, and I love that. Alright, so the next one on my list is To Catch a Raven, Beverly Jenkins. It is a historical romance. She just give it to me. She give it to me good. She give it to me where I feel like I'm way back in that time. I'm learning a lot of things in history. But again, she does bring the romance, and you rooting for the characters, and you seeing the little things that they're doing, and it was just so, and a part of me was like, how do you get romantic when you're in a dangerous situation, especially that time period as a black couple? Y'all, I was for it. I loved it, and I was here for it. It is the last book in a series, Women Who Dare, so I was happy that I was able to complete that series. Then the two on my list is another book from the series with the brothers, and this one is Magnus, another Tina Martin, and this is Magnus and Shiloh. Let me tell you, this is a guilty pleasure. If you are not into super alpha male, if you are not into aggressive men who gets their way, don't read it, because you're probably gonna struggle with it, especially if you're very much this feminist person that don't think a man should do this and that. Don't read this. This one is a guilty pleasure, but I love, for some reason, I just couldn't help myself but love him. And I understood his struggle. This is a man that lost everything. We're talking, he lost his child, he lost his wife, and he's grieving, and he's in his mind, he doesn't feel like he needs to be here anymore. So there he is in that situation where he saw a woman that he feel can continue his legacy. That's going to give him a child, and he's going to try everything possible to pursue her, including finding what her weakness is and use it to pursue her to give him what he wants. What he didn't realize was she was more than what he thought, and there goes this woman that dig deep, got him to open up, got him to realize that he can live and continue and have a good life. And she got that out of him, even though he did some things that was so messed up. This one is one of those where I'm like, I just see some people just skin up their mouth when they see this, but just stick with it. Just stick to it to the end. You will see why I love this one. I just love Magnus. I couldn't help myself. I kept thinking, oh, poor Magnus. Magnus just mean for no reason. Well, I'm not saying for no reason, but he just mean when he just really need to go to therapy. Magnus needs therapy. And but I was here for it. And of course, my number one favorite, I talked about this so many times on my channel, and that is Technical. This is one of those books that I couldn't find a fault with it. I was just like, you gave me romance, you gave me a Cinderella story, you gave me family drama, but you gave me family fun, family get together, family connection. You gave me the trauma of a basketball player who suffered some really bad things as a child, and how he overcome, but he was doing it as a good guy. It's the good guy who thought by saving everybody else, paying for everybody else, and making sure everybody else is good, and not thinking about that himself, not thinking about what he needs. And often what he needs was not something that you can buy, but he didn't realize that he was worth it, even though he did some things as a child that was circumstance. It was just not, you know, as you read the story, you realize it's not nothing that he could necessarily understood that he could have done something else. He was a child. But I love this. I love the romance between them. I love the being a father to a child that's not yours, and taking on that role and loving that child as if that child is yours. I love that storyline in this. And I love that both had issues, both had things that they needed to overcome, but they communicate. The big thing about this is that they learn to communicate and to speak their truth, and to realize that they're not their parents, and how much your parents can influence how you love as an adult and how you get through that. I absolutely love this. Just love it. I love it. I will read it again and again and again. And I find that sometimes some of these romance do not have to be this spectacular, over the top book. Sometimes it can be a story that is just very much simple but feel good, and you will remember it because of how it made you feel as you read it. So, and these are how I feel about a lot of these stories that I've read this year. And these were my favorite, but I mean, honorary mention, you know, is that you have a series with Monica Walters. I thought her series were pretty good, and I can't wait to continue hers. We also have some summer series that I read quite a few books in the summer. Romance, I think I did like almost a whole month mostly with romance in July. And these were such great books, but I've also learned that there are some books that people want to consider romance, and it is not romance if you're just so focused on the trauma that you give me nothing else. But overall, romance did good this year. I'm excited to see what other romance I could get into next year. I love watching videos of people doing their favorite romance for the years. I'm watching to see what they have on their list. And what I can get into for next year. So let me know if you've read some romance this year. What were your favorite romance? And drop it down, because I'm here for it, and I will definitely look at for some of these and maybe add quite a few of these to my TBR. So I will see you in the next one, guys, and yeah, come back tomorrow and we will continue this December daily, and we are almost at the end. So yeah. Thanks, guys, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.